There are times when people come on to my YouTube channel or Facebook Messenger and ask me questions about the orcas at SeaWorld San Diego over the course of this last 55 years while I've been going in and out of there. And for the most part, I cannot answer these questions. I wish I was an encyclopedia of all the orcas in SeaWorld San Diego, but I am not. Not by a long shot. And the reason is because I've spent the bulk of my time at SeaWorld San Diego hanging out on the glass side of the Dine With tank and just sitting and talking to these orcas, telling them I love them, that I care about them, that I wish they weren't in these tanks, that I wish I could get them out of there, wishing they were in the sea, back with their families, or at least swimming again in the ocean, and spending time sitting in silence with them. That has been the bulk of my work with these orcas. And I've had 3 long stretches of time where I didn't go in there at all. The first time, I knew the very first Shamu. I had a connection with her. We liked each other. I loved her. I don't know if she loved me, but she was sure happy to see me when I came. I knew her from 1968 until she died in the year 1971. And when she died and they introduced another orca as Shamu, and I confronted a trainer about it, that trainer lied to me. So between being so upset about her death and angry at being lied to, I didn't go into SeaWorld San Diego again until after I graduated high school. That was over 5 years. But when I went back, I didn't recognize these orcas. And I didn't have to. I didn't have to know their names. I mean, the only way I knew if an orca was a male is if he swam by me or I saw the orca and the orca had a collapsed dorsal fin. But like I said, I didn't have to know their names. When an orca would come in, and they would, many of them did, come by me as I would talk to them and sit with them, and they'll roll over on their side and stare me in the eye with that one eye of theirs. And for me, it's just not possible. If an orca looks you in the eye, it is not possible not to know who and what they are. It's just not. In the year 1988, a lot of things happened in 1988, and I was in an immense amount of emotional pain. Just a ton. And I went to SeaWorld San Diego. And I met this orca. And when we looked at each other in the eye, we formed an instantaneous bond and connection, like stronger than the one I had with Shamu. I had to know who this orca was. Had to. Because she felt every bit of my pain, and I was washed over in feeling all her abject loneliness. So for the first time, I hadn't been to a show since I was a 13-year-old kid. I am now a 30-year-old woman, and I go into a show to find out who this orca is. It was Corky. So now I have another connection to another orca. And for months, I went in there to see her. And it was wonderful. And of course, I still talked to the other orcas. I still sat in silence with the other orcas. But with Corky, it was different. We had a bond. And it's truly wonderful what goes on between me and Corky. Around 7 months later, I met this guy. Got totally submerged into his life. And I didn't go back to see the orcas at SeaWorld San Diego for 6 or 7 years. I think it was sometime in 1995 I went back to SeaWorld San Diego. I go to this dine tank, and I swear, she was waiting for me. She knew I was coming. And it was like I had never gone anywhere. And she's always been like that with me. So happy to see me. Everything's wonderful. Oh my God. And near the end of the year of 1995, once again, I moved from San Diego. I moved to Northern California. I was gone about a little over 4 years. But when I came back in 2000, the beginning of 2000, I went back to SeaWorld San Diego, saw Corky, and it was like I had just seen her yesterday. It's always been this way. Even this last trip, in August, it was like she had just seen me. She really is something else. This orca, she is amazing. And everything she has done for the other orcas. And I love her so much. And I hope one day she gets to get out of there. When I go to SeaWorld, I am paying attention to the orcas, trying to give love to these orcas, but I'm also watching out for other things. And I pretty much have an idea of what I'm going to focus on and what I'm going to look for. All right? So, okay, here's an example. SeaWorld tells the public, and always has, about all the time they spend with them one-on-one, how they stimulate them, exercise them, and interact with them one-on-one. All right? It's a bunch of crap. Okay? I'll tell you what I have seen, mainly, in my life, since the construction of the Dine with Shamu tank. There is a bridge above the Dine with tank that straddles between tank 2 and the Dine with tank. It's not even near the performance tank. They walk back and forth across that bridge. That's what I mainly see them do during the hours that I've spent with these orcas. But what they did do, because they're very manipulative, all these orcas are fed out of these blue igloos, and they're a certain color of blue. And these orcas are very intelligent. They know that color. They know that color represents food being fed. Okay? And so they hang these buckets up in the air. They're exact same shade of blue. And these orcas will jump up and down, hitting that bucket, trying to, tip it, break it, thinking that if they do, it's going to give them food. And it's the same thing with the blue balls that they push around in the tank. It's the exact same color blue, and they're trying to hit it. They're trying to break it because they think if they do, they're going to find food. They're not. It's very manipulative and very cruel. But they get to sell to the public that they're exercising them and stimulating them. I don't even want to say the word. Another thing that happened that I noticed was when Amaya was born and she was a baby and they first started letting her come out to the dynamo tank. And she would come to the glass side and she would click and whistle to the kids, to the adults. And she would click and whistle to her mother, Kalia. I hadn't heard clicking and whistling in decades. Because you see, after the 80s, it was pretty much over with the clicking and whistling. Because they weren't 100% SR or NR Orcas anymore. No common dialect. No, because they're inbreeding so much and they're bringing in the Icelandic Orcas. It was all over. So hearing this baby make this sound, it was like, oh my Lord. I thought maybe the clicking and whistling were going to come back. But check out what SeaWorld does. No, it does not come back. They separate Kalia and Amaya so much that before Amaya was even 2 years old, all the clicking and whistling was over. Okay, it was done. Because they want them completely dependent upon humans. They click and whistle on cue for food. That's it. That's all they're allowed to do. I'll tell you something else about these orcas, okay? They know they're being exploited. They know they're being starved to perform for these people that come in to see them, and they don't like it. And I happen to respect these majestic mammals very much. And even though the most shows I've ever gone to in my life have been in the last 4.5 years, I don't have 1,000,001 pictures of these orcas. I don't have a ton of video on these orcas. That's why you keep seeing the same pictures and the same video from me. Because I know they don't like it. So I don't do it. The other thing is I was never going to tell anyone about this part of my life. I was always a strange kid. Nothing changed as I grew older. I've always been teased off and on, made fun of off and on, and even called crazy at times because of the way I think, because of my personality, because of my beliefs in certain things, my reactions to situations. I was never going to let anybody ridicule me about what I do at SeaWorld San Diego. It was too important. It meant too much to me. So I was never going to tell anybody. But then something happened. 5 years ago, SeaWorld embarked on their mission, which continues to this day, on rewriting their history. They rewrote their history. They are not murderers of orcas. They are not kidnappers of babies. They are not entertainers with these orcas, and they are not abusers of these orcas. They are educators and conservationists. When that happened, I thought about it for a long time, and I figured, you know what? I'm blowing the whistle on these guys. I don't care what happens. And in the interim, Corky has brought Makani and Shuka to me. I now have connections with them. I also have a connection to Keith. My heart just broke for him. When I finally noticed Keith laying in this spot on his side, not moving an inch for hours, my heart just broke for him. And I started talking to him and talking to him. And little by little, and if Corky was in the Dine with Tank and saw me trying to reach out to Keat, she would never interfere. Right? And over time, I have let all these things out. I have told people in the anti-captivity movement. And yeah, I've been made fun of. I've been ridiculed. I've been called crazy. You know what? I don't care. It was more important to let you guys know what was going on. It was worth it to me. It is worth it to me. And even this last trip that I made in August to check on Corky after she had been attacked, I went 4 hours before showtime. I had no intention of going to a show. I went there to check on her. But I was not focused. I was too nervous, too anxious, too excited, too twirled up in my emotions. And I was blindsided by 3 more orcas coming into the tank. There's never 6 orcas in the performance tank before showtime. You know? And Corky could feel it. That's why she went out of her way, tail slapping me on the right side of the pool, tail slapping on the left side, in the back, tail slapping me, waving to me, showing me her underside. She was trying to calm me down. She knew what a mess I was. And, I mis-ID'd Makani for Shuka because now they kind of look alike to me. And, he got so much bigger and his dorsal is starting to go. And I'm calling out Shuka. And here comes Shuka. She greets me, she tail slaps me, but I am so unfocused that I think it's Corky, because Corky has been the one doing all the tail slapping. So, it wasn't my best focused visit for them, but it was very emotional and it was very satisfying. The other thing I want to mention is Ike. Okay, since August, I have seen video of him performing. I've seen pictures of him, and he looks good. He really does. But always remember and never forget, we are dealing with SeaWorld. These orcas are fine one day and dead the next, and they have no explanation for it. They can't tell you why. Shrouded in secrecy, again. So I know what I saw that day. He was not okay that day. And I will be going back to see them, but I probably won't be going to a show. But I want to check on Ike. I need to check in with Corky, Makani, and Shuka. And I'm so sorry that I'm not an encyclopedia for you all. But that just hasn't been what I felt was important. The orcas themselves have been important to me. Thank you.